Okay, everybody, it's now time to move on to our next panel discussion. 続いての、パネルディスカッションとなります。今回のテーマですけれども、DeFi の簡素化、ユーザーとプロトコルのギャップを埋めるというのがタイトルになっています。So the title of our next session is Simplifying DeFi, Bridging the Gap Between Users and Protocols. So let me introduce our panelists for this stage. First off, from BitGet, CEO Gracy Chen. Head of APAC at BitGo, Abel Seow, founder of OriginTrail, Žiga Drev, and COO and Co-Founder at Kiln, Thomas Phuoc. 皆様大きな拍手でお迎えください。どうぞよろしくお願いします。Please come onto the stage. Okay, so Gracie, I believe you're going to be the moderator for this one. So if you're ready to go. Okay, I was told differently. Sorry about that. I'm sorry. Looks like I had bad information. So Thomas, if you're ready to go.
Yes.
Okay, よろしくお願いします。
Cool. Thanks a lot for the introduction. So I'm Thomas. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Kiln. We are a leading asset rewards management platform with a key focus on staking, where we stake about 4% of the Ethereum network. And we also recently expanded to DeFi with the launch of our Kiln DeFi product. So I'm thrilled to moderate today's panel on DeFi. Thanks a lot for joining me. The first question I would like to dig into is to understand what you perceive to be the biggest adoption, the biggest barriers to adoption for DeFi for average users who really are new to the space. So I would love to get your input, Gracie, on this.
Sure. So barrier to DeFi. By the way, we are a very big CeFi project. We're not just a project, we're a centralized exchange. But I think the reason that I'm invited to this panel is largely, number one, we have also a big DeFi sector, which is BitGet wallet. It's a decentralized wallet that we have, and we acquired in 2020 and 2021, and later grow together with the CeFi business and the DeFi business. So lots of my experience and my knowledge may come from bridging DeFi and CeFi, which I think is a very interesting angle. But back to your question, I would say, number one, the user experience. So when I chat with some of our BitGet wallet users, I ask them, what's your experience with this product? And many of them told me the fact that BitGet wallet is doing DeFi as a decentralized wallet, at the same time giving user a silky smooth user experience. Like, it's very easy to log in. When you have any question or encounter any issue, you can contact the customer service. There is a very straightforward launchpad, launch pool going on. The dApp experience is also very straightforward, that you can just log in and play with the dApps. So this kind of user experience, I think, is very important. And lots of DeFi projects, when we look at them, they make user like a headache. Like, you need to remember your 16 digits, 16 words in order to get to access to your wallet. And then you have to understand what's the difference between APY and APR, because that's where lots of earning DeFi projects are tricking you on. So all these things, I think we need to make it very simple, very much like a silky smooth experience for our users. So the user experience is one thing. And I would say education is another thing, because some of the projects just make it a little bit hard for users to understand. You know, you need to bridge this to that, you need to change this token to do swap, etc. So the user experience and the educational content, I think those are two barriers, and of course two opportunities to look into when we want to increase the mass adoption for DeFi projects.
Thank you very much. So Abel, BitGo is like institutional grade custody platform, and so I guess you must have lots of financial institutions coming to you to learn more about DeFi and understand how they can access these new products. And yeah, I'm very keen to understand what's your perception of the challenges that they face when they want to be involved with DeFi.
Yeah, it's a really good question. For those who don't know what BitGo does, we're the largest independent regulated custodian around the world. We've been around since 2013, have in excess of 70 billion in assets, and we are a pure B2B business. So when institutions think about entering this space very early on, we tend to have those conversations with them. And a lot of it comes down to things around their infrastructure and the security of the infrastructure. You made a good point about these TradFi institutions and the question as to how they approach and think about DeFi. Oftentimes, today where we are in the sort of market cycle is where TradFi are generally quite wary of DeFi. There's a whole bunch of things that are barriers to adoption from them. KYC, for example, if you are an asset manager, you're a fund manager in GPIF offices in Tokyo over here, the last thing you want to do is be tainting your funds with black money, with illegal money. And that can be easily done if you are not careful on DeFi protocols. Another big thing, another big concern that these institutions have as well is the usability of DeFi. Right? What's the security concerns? How do I audit these concerns? How do I put this as a pitch internally to convince management that, hey, in a 5% interest rate environment, the risk reward to access DeFi is there. And last but not least, Gracie made a very good point about the product considerations. Having to access DeFi via a MetaMask wallet from your BitGo wallet can be quite cumbersome. And frankly speaking, it can be quite scary for some of these fund managers that don't necessarily have that on-chain experience. So if there's a world where this experience becomes more unified, becomes more silky smooth, I think we'll do leaps and bounds in terms of driving their adoption. I think a lot of TradFi today see DeFi as a very small pocket within this weird and wonderful asset class of crypto. But I think if we get this right along the way, DeFi will become a standalone asset class within a much bigger asset class that's a lot better understood, a lot well regarded, with all the security and product concerns out of the way.
Cool, thank you very much. Yeah, it sounds like UX and explaining the value of DeFi and how you can do it safely is very important. So Žiga, you come from kind of a different place where maybe for a decentralized knowledge graph, it's not as evident why you would need DeFi or even more generally Web3. So I'm keen to understand how maybe do you get users who are used to other platforms when they want to manage their knowledge and then convince them that it's really worth doing it on a Web3 based platform?
Yeah, hi, I'm Žiga, perhaps the most exotic name here. Yes, I'm going to come from the utility perspective as a builder using blockchain and then also applying artificial intelligence to essentially verify the truth in multiple business scenarios from supply chains. For instance, we work with the biggest retailers in the States, and they all together, those who are collaborating and using OriginTrail to exchange audit report, they together represent 40% of the US imports. So they would use OriginTrail to exchange audit reports, and that's not directly linked to DeFi or TradFi. Or Swiss Federal Railways using OriginTrail to ensure safety of passengers. Or European Gymnastics using it for their users to verify sports results. So multiple use cases, and with these multiple use cases also comes a kind of a tiered approach towards tackling the access to token. We started off in 2018. Things were pretty different. The DeFi space was different back then, like very sketchy, sexist as well back then. But over the course of the last few years, we have developed access to our token, which is being used by enterprises, by users who are also staking to provide resiliency of the decentralized knowledge graph. And they are using exchanges such as BitGet as of quite recently. So thank you, Gracie. And some other exchanges which came in a little bit later, such as Neobank, not exactly exchanges, but like Gracie says, a very silky, smooth experience with Revolut, which is one of the leading neobanks in the European space. And then, the usual suspects such as Coinbase and Kraken and so on. And, then there is a world of DeFi, which is, used by those who are a little bit more technical savvy, a little more risk, less risk averse, so kind of a total different set of users that have this appetite to use DeFi. And then there is enterprise users which don't care about tokens at all. They would just like to use a technology, the kind of OriginTrail, that requires token to be used in order to maintain the veracity of claims within the network, but they would simply like to interface via the fiat world. They don't care about tokens, yet the tokens are being used. So it's kind of a mix of both, or even the third part, which is no tokens at all.
Cool. Thank you very much for the details. So we talked about the importance of educating the users, making clear how it's important to make them feel safe, help them understand what really they're doing in DeFi. So I would like to come back to a topic that you mentioned, Gracie, about education and content. And I would love if you could maybe run us through what you do with the BitGet Earn section and the steps that you've taken to make users feel comfortable with DeFi.
Yeah, so first of all, on the user interface, users are typically required to know the steps, like know what it means. Even if in the CeFi part, like for example, when they place an order, when they want to buy a new token, especially when they want to buy the token with leverage, we want to make sure they know what everything means. What is the difference between a limit order and a trigger order, for example? And what's the difference between this price that you set for the trigger and the purchase price or the selling price? So all these things we want our users to be very clear before they place an order. That's one thing. And then from the educational point of view, we actually have something called BitGet Research, another thing called BitGet Academy. That's where we generate a lot of research and content created for our users to onboard them, to educate them on new tokens, on new features, on a bot or AI product that we have just launched, things like that. So we think the education in this DeFi adoption is very, very important. Other than that, I guess BitGet, we have one of the largest protection fund in our industry, which is a 400 million AUM fund where we only have USDT, USDC, and Bitcoin, Ethereum, not including our platform token. Like all of these tokens set aside as a protection fund when our users face any difficulties such as like a hacking or unstable system that they lost some money, although that rarely happens. But when it happens, they can go to this insurance and protection fund to declare their loss, and we will just take care of everything. So the protection fund, the proof reserve is another thing that we made it very transparent. So on a monthly basis, we publish our proof reserve. I think that's something we did right after FTX collapse, when users require more transparency in terms of the crypto centralized exchanges, custodia, and the major exchanges, including Binance, us, Bybit, OKX, etc. We all publish our proof reserve. At BitGet, we do it on a monthly basis, and we made it very clear, like what is the asset holding for our users, what's the asset that is under our company, and made it very transparent. So I think that's very key. By the way, when our users, you are trying to find a centralized exchange or a DeFi projects to work with, especially centralized exchange, you have to check for proof reserve. If they don't publish proof reserve, it's a little bit scammy. So work with the larger players in our space. I think that's like a no-brainer.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, this sounds like a very safe approach for users. Abel, again, like you, I know that you are facing some of the same concerns. We talked about it earlier. You mentioned the security, the infrastructure questions, the concerns around UX. And so I'm keen to understand, like, how do you make traditional institutions feel more comfortable about using custody and then, like, getting on with wallets and DeFi services? And what are some of the educational approaches that you take to get there?
Yeah, the educational piece is really important for us, very dear to our hearts, because that's part of the bridge that eventually brings TradFi over into this space, getting them comfortable, getting them familiar. So it's a longer-term play that we have at hand over here, and one that we take a lot of responsibility for. But we take a step back, right? When clients are asking about DeFi and what they need to be doing around that, that typically means that they already have attained a certain amount of comfort in this space. Right? They're comfortable with on-chain movements, by and large. They're comfortable with the volatility in the markets. They understand what it's like to move funds around, wallet creation, etc. So that's good. Right? Liquid strategies are all part of the parcel of what they already do. Where things get interesting for them is then what the infrastructure that they have, like a BitGo, can do to support them for their DeFi endeavors. So things like reporting, things like being able to trace and track, calculate their rewards from DeFi protocols, things like the security behind some of these DeFi protocols are front and center of their minds. And we're there to help them along the way as well, right? Because from BitGo infrastructure, clients want the world, right? They want to access Tron DeFi, they want to access Solana DeFi, they want all the EVM chains. And we are here to help them as much as possible to provide a secure environment, a secure infrastructure for them to do so as well. And then for us, the long-term benefits of this educational work that we do in harvesting the rewards from clients sticking with us is massive. Because as we discussed just now, right, as partners, the possibilities with staked assets can be limitless, right? Clients can use staked assets within a tri-party setup to trade as collateral. Clients can then use BitGo's on and off-ramp services to off-ramp their rewards, right? And therefore, this becomes a very sticky, interesting business for us, which as a provider, or as a one-stop shop provider of financial services within crypto, is massive for us over the long term.
Yeah, hearing the staking piece is really music to my ears. So thanks for mentioning this. Žiga, so I'm really interested in understanding how you help maybe some of the more conservative or like say traditional players that you're working with. You mentioned that some of them maybe like don't really want a token, they just want the blockchain-based service. So yeah, again, I'm interested to understand how you help them understand the value of the space, educate them, how long would it take, and then like the key things that really make them click.
Yeah, I think it's one of the the biggest common points that companies that use blockchain-related products that also entail crypto is that they don't keep crypto on their books. That's almost, in 100% cases. So in those instances, you don't at all talk about tokens. You talk about value proposition, which might be consumer interaction, improving consumer engagement. It might be protecting consumers from fake products. It might be greater supply chain visibility. So pretty much talking about the problem that you're solving rather than the tokens that are being entailed in the cost structure of the solution. When they do use a solution that entails token within the cost structure, they typically don't know how much of that token has been expensed, but they do know how much of the dollars, GBP or euros have been spent on using a solution. They need to understand what's the unit economics behind it, and that's pretty much it. So we kind of extract that complexity, so they don't care much about it, and that said, they care about the value. So that's pretty much, let's say, a 101 way of dealing with it. That said, we do, visit other conferences that, go well beyond just crypto, like industry events such as GS1 conference. GS1 is the barcode standard, and right now they're transitioning to their own kind of QR code standard. So every product that you buy, like this water, would not anymore carry a barcode, but rather a QR code. So there's a community behind it, and that community knows nothing about crypto. However, their solutions also entail OriginTrail as a way for consumers to check the product information, or for supply chain operators to exchange knowledge or information amongst themselves using the same backbone. So again, in that case, they don't as companies, they don't care about crypto. However, in some cases, at the conference, speaking in a panel similar to this one, one would receive a question such as, what do you think the price of Bitcoin is going to be tomorrow? So people are interested, people working with those companies, some of them even buy the tokens, so they would state that quite openly. However, overarchingly, the company policies are that they would not hold cryptos on their books.
Okay, makes sense. Cool, thank you. Yeah, maybe like the last topic that I would like us to discuss is what's next for the industry with regards to DeFi. And so I would like to understand your perspective on this, Gracy, because you come from a place where you have both a SEX and a wallet. So there are lots of opportunities for you to introduce some of the new DeFi innovations. So I would love to understand what's on your radar and what's next for BitGet.
Yeah, so DeFi comes from DeFi Summer, I think in 2021-ish. And when that DeFi Summer happens, it's mainly for DEX. Lots of DEX like Uniswap, like in China there were, or in Asia there was like projects like Dodo, they came out. But right now, 2024, it's no more just DEX. It's much more other financial sectors. So this year, or actually starting from last year, 2023, we saw Athena, and Athena approached me last year when they just came up and when they were raising funds from lots of strategic investors. And I think that's an interesting one because USDE as a stable coin, it come from a DeFi background and it kind of competed with the very big gurus in this world like USDT and USDC. Yet USDE is what, 5th or 6th largest stable coin right now, taking about 3% of the whole stable coin market share. I think that's quite impressive, and I would love to see more projects like Athena doing stablecoin launching. Another trend that I'm seeing right now is a lot of Bitcoin ecosystem DeFi projects. Like previously, Ethereum gives you staking. You can do staking at Lido, for example, using your Ethereum, and it can give you a pretty decent, like 5%-ish kind of return. But with Babylon, we see lots of projects doing liquid staking on Babylon for Bitcoin, and we are actually in discussing. Yesterday afternoon, I was having a meeting with a founder, and they want to do something like that, where they want to work with BitGet and for user adoption, and then our user can stake their BTC to get a return, which was quite rare because previously BTC doesn't give you a high yield. So I think a DeFi projects like stablecoin, like more earning on more asset classes, and even in the future, if we see decentralized lending, borrowing, decentralized credit building, I think these are all DeFi projects. So it's not just trading DEX anymore, it's expanding to many other financial services, and I think that's going to be a trend.
Okay, that's great to hear. Thanks. We've looked into BTC staking with Kiln as well, and now we're supporting Babylon, and we'll help customers integrate BTC staking, so we're very excited by this trend too. Abel, I know that these trends are also something that you are looking at on BitGo's side a bit. This like BTC staking, restaking, and I'm sure some of your customers are excited about possibility to get access to new types of yield. So I would love to understand on your side, what are the innovations in DeFi that would make the most sense for BitGo and for your set of customers?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I guess I'm biased, right? The natural answer for me, and I think for BitGo, is naturally WBTC and what we've done around WBTC. So for those who don't know, WBTC, Wrapped Bitcoin, was created by BitGo, Kyber Network, and Ren protocol back in 2018, 2019. Because it grew so quickly, it actually helped launch DeFi Summer. The idea behind Wrapped Bitcoin, WBTC, is that you can store, custodize your assets, your Bitcoin, at BitGo. That Bitcoin backs every single WBTC in circulation in the market. So the biggest benefit of that, and the reason why that launched DeFi Summer, is because that unlocks all that liquidity within the Bitcoin ecosystem. So obviously we've been in the news a little bit regarding WBTC, but the funds that back all the WBTC is secured by BitGo. And it would be great to see further innovation in this space where that unlock of liquidity between different protocols can be more advanced going forward. The Babylon stuff, the BTC restaking stuff, the layer 2 stuff is super interesting for us as a business. And actually, this is a great audience here in Japan because every single exchange, partner, and client that we've spoken to have expressed a very deep interest in this space, which in that sense makes a lot of sense, right? Because we spoke about this morning, where because of the limited number of coins and tokens that the exchanges support over here, the users and the assets that they hold naturally congregate towards the top 3 or 4 assets. And that obviously means Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, Cardano. And therefore, there's huge potential in the Japanese market. And I see this as a big sort of experimentation where if the L2, the BTC L2 ecosystem, the restaking ecosystem gets it right over here, that could then be the impetus for it to succeed globally as well. So really excited about it, really excited to see the traction over here and how the trajectory of that takes off over time.
Cool, thank you. Žiga, also on your side, what are you most excited about in DeFi, in Web3 in general, to advance what you are doing at OriginTrail?
Yeah, there's perhaps a very peculiar perspective about the multi-chain capabilities. You don't necessarily need to be tied to one single chain, and by making tokens transferable between chains, you can unlock both liquidity and you can access more users. Plus, you also gain scalability if chains are not used just to send value packages, but rather to sign transactions to let's say maintain data veracity of chain. So more higher throughput. So multi-chain is one of the things that is quite as exciting when it comes to accessing liquidity, accessing larger user base. For instance, being able to bring your users or access more users by, if you're originally based on Ethereum, like our token track is, and then accessing more liquidity or more users on base chain, for instance, is such an interesting option that we nowadays have with the base chain. And there are many such instances. Base is perhaps one of such examples.
Thank you. I would like to thank all of you for participating in the panel. It was a very interesting session. I think the key takeaways are really that UX matters to a significant extent. We have to make things simple for users new to DeFi, but also in a way where you're not hiding any information, you're being very clear and very straightforward with your customers, and making them feel safe. You mentioned the importance of security infrastructure. You mentioned the importance of having a proof of reserves and a backup fund in case anything happens. Yeah, and also there's just generally a lot of excitement about new trends in DeFi, restaking, BTC staking being big ones. People are generally very excited about the opportunity that staking the absolutely gigantic amount of BTC that's being held in exchanges or custody represents. So yeah, and the multi-chain opportunity, helping users hop on from one chain to another, is also something that we're keen to see develop. Thank you again. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before you leave the stage, we'd like to get a group photo if that's possible. So if you could stand up and make your way to the middle of the stage. ここでちょっとグループ写真を撮らせていただいて、次のセッションに参りたいと思いますので、よろしくお願いします。All right. Gracy, Abel, Žiga, and Thomas, thank you very much. 皆様改めて拍手お願いします。ありがとうございました。Thank you very much. Okay, we'll be moving on to our next session in just a moment after we've had a quick set change. Give us just a moment to get that finished, and then we'll be moving on. ここでちょっと簡単なセットチェンジをさせていただいて、次のセッションに参ります。少々お待ちください。